So during one of the lockdowns, I can't remember which one, I took to Reddit, excuse me, I took to Reddit to pose a question to the people that followed me on there. And in all fairness, not a lot of people follow me on there, so I didn't get a great deal of response. So I thought I would ask the question here and see what you think of it. Now, whenever I've been on gigs in the past, it's not uncommon for, actually even nowadays, even for bass players to do it, but certainly guitarists, to turn up with multiple instruments. Hollow body, electric, a couple of types of electric, fretless, fretted bass, whatever it might be. But for sax players, we tend to turn up with the sax and the mouthpiece that's on. Now, before I ask this question, it's totally opinion-based, okay? So it's whatever you think. I'm not picking a fight with anyone. I'm not saying that guitarists have got it easier. There's none of that going on, all right? I'm just interested to know what you think. For the type of gigs that I do, sometimes you're playing ballads, sometimes you're playing pop stuff, sometimes funk, and like even sometimes like you're playing rockier type classic 80s sax stuff, if you think of the Lost Boys sax player. So my question is this. Guitarists have multiple guitars, they have multiple pedals, bass players do as well now, keyboard players have a few keyboards there, depending on the keyboard player. Are sax players expected to have one sound that is their sound and have it refined, so that's like kind of whichever sax player it is, that's their sound and that's what they're limited to? Or are sax players the same? Are we allowed to sound different? Or as sax players, do we judge other sax players that change and kind of manipulate their sound a little bit? I'm just interested in this. I think there's definitely kind of a little bit of that goes on, that, you know, that we should be stuck to one type of sound. Certainly classic jazz players, like, you know, you are meant to have your sound. But is that right? Is that fair? If you're starting off on the sax, are you encouraged to find your sound? Or should we encourage people to play around with sound, use pedals, all that type of thing? So I'm on neither side of this camp. I'm just interested to know what you think. Are we like guitarists, or should we have one sound and that's it? So for today's improvisation thing, basically it's a nice little trick to get around playing over major chords. Now, major chords are quite tough. Let's say major 7. Major 7s are quite tough because we are kind of limited, in inverted commas, to what we can use in terms of like the classic use this scale and this scale when it comes to chord scale relationship. But basically, we are limited to the Ionian, and more commonly what is pushed is the Lydian scale, because the 4th degree of the scale, let's say we're in C major, C, D, E, F is seen as a clashing tone. So people will push you to use the Lydian, C, D, E, F sharp. The Lydian is when you play your major scale, so in this case it would be G major, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp and G, but you use that scale over a C major 7 and you just start from C to C. C, D, E, the F is now sharp because it's from G major, G, A, B and C again at the top. But as I've seen in comments under other sax players' videos and people who've commented on my videos, a lot of people tend to use the minor pentatonic. So how can we look at a major 7 chord and find a way to superimpose, if you like, this Lydian sound over a major 7? So let's say you're playing in C major 7, okay? Now what I would encourage you to do is think of the 2 notes that are before it in that scale. So you've got C, B is before it, and A is before that. Now, if you take C major 7 and you apply a B minor pentatonic over the top of it, it will give you that Lydian note. It will also give you the major 7. So you're pulling out 2 quite colourful tones there. If you go a step before, you get to A minor pentatonic, and that will give you the classic kind of major pentatonic sound over that C, because they're related, okay? So you would get your E sound in there, the C, the G, so all of those chord tones are there, and the major 7, the B, will come from the B minor pentatonic. Now you can, of course, just learn C Lydian and apply it, but for a lot of us, we know the minor pentatonic, so we know how to get around it, we've used it for a long time, and like I said before about language, when you are speaking, let's say you're learning a foreign language, the sentences that you have practiced will come more fluently to you because, for want of a better way of putting it, they are under your tongue. So in the same way that you can say these sentences that you've practiced a lot quite fluently, for example, when you learn to speak a language, mi chiamo or ich heiße, those kind of things, you learn right from the off, so you can say those quickly. Whereas something far more complicated, it's difficult to get your head round because you're not as well practiced with it. So I would say you see your C major 7, quickly think, C, what are the 2 notes before it in that scale? B and A. Then approach the C major 7 with those 2 minor pentatonic scales, and you will find that you are pulling out all of the nice chord tones that you need for it to sound like you're using a Lydian scale, and if you want to, that you're just using a nice scale, this is the A minor one, that avoids all of those clashing tones. As always, this is just a suggestion. Let me know what you think when you try it. Does it appeal to you? Do you like the sound that you get? And, of course, if you don't get anything from it, feel free to ignore it. As always, it would be wonderful if you would consider subscribing. I'm trying to grow the channel. I enjoy making these videos, and it would be wonderful if you could support me in that. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you again in a future video. Thanks a lot.